Let's imagine that the goal that you're trying to achieve is a game that you're playing. And you can play this game in two different ways. You can play this game to win, or you can play not to lose. And if we have two individuals that are playing the same game, you don't see a big difference because they're doing the exact same thing. But there is a huge difference in the results that they create, in the way that they are creating, in the whole experience that they're having while they're playing this game between these two ways. Because if you would ask this question to people when they're talking about their goals and their dreams and their ambitions, are you playing to win or are you playing not to lose? Most people will say, I want this goal. Of course I'm playing to win. But in reality, most people are playing not to lose, but they are unaware of this. If we make the analogy to cars, let's imagine two cars going into the same direction. They're going towards the same destination. The car that is playing to win is looking ahead, is looking into the future, where he is going. The car that is playing not to lose is looking in the rearview mirror to the back. Usually you gather data from the past and you try to prevent that from happening again. Remember that we took that wrong turn? I don't want to make a wrong turn again. I don't want to make this mistake again. Remember that we almost crashed? I don't want to crash again. So you can imagine how dangerous this is if you're constantly driving forward while looking in the rearview mirror, trying to prevent the past from happening again. So usually if we use the language of your goals, I don't want to make a mistake again. Remember that we lost all this money? I don't want to lose my money again. I don't want to be laughed at or judged by other people again. So you're trying to prevent mistakes from happening. You're trying to prevent the past from happening again. And of course, you start playing it small. Playing not to lose is fear that is creating. You don't want to be judged. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to experience rejection. You don't want to be sick again, or whatever the case is. So you're playing it small, even though you're going into the same direction. And I had a session with a professional athlete last week, and he's a cycler, so he's a racer, and we were exploring his confidence in the downhill. So when he was going downhill, he felt that he wasn't experiencing as much confidence as he used to. And when we started to explore this, we were going to his past, and he could see, well, I had multiple experiences in the past where there was something wrong with my bike, and I crashed 3 times. 3 times in 3 years, which is a lot, with technical issues with his bike. So now he started to play the game not to lose, because he felt the fear. I don't want to crash again. And so he started to brace himself, as in, well, I don't want to get injured, I don't want to crash. So just imagine that energy, playing not to lose, is going downhill. Of course he would be going slower. Of course there would be tension in his body when he's going downhill. And usually what starts happening is, these things become a self-fulfilling prophecy when you start imagining these scenarios over and over again. So he isn't as confident going downhill, so he wouldn't take certain risks. So of course he is not as fast as the other guys. So this is where all the racers are racing the same race, but the way that they are racing is different. Some guys are playing to win, and you can see this in the confidence. Some guys are playing not to lose, and they're playing it small. So I guided him through a visualization, as in, let's imagine that I can look into the future, and I can guarantee you that nothing will happen with your bike. There won't be any technical issues. You have this 100% certainty. What would that feel like if you were going downhill? What would you experience? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What would you be doing? And this is when he made a shift, feeling-wise, of going from playing not to lose to playing to win. And that whole experience shifted his way of going downhill. When you make the shift from not to lose to playing to win. And that's why you can see, especially with a sports translation, you can see the clear difference between playing not to lose and playing to win. Because if you have a boxer going inside of the ring, the one is trying not to get knocked out. Like, I remember this time that we got knocked out, I don't want this to happen again. So he has this fear and this tension going into the ring. The other boxer is thinking about all the championships that he wants to win. So he's just living into all of these possibilities. One will be way more relaxed than the other. And this is the difference. They're both playing the same game. They're both in the same ring. But one is tense. One is tense when he's in the ring. One is loose. One is free in his creation. He's living into the possibilities of everything that could happen. And that's why initially you can imagine like, oh, but what is the big deal? What is the big difference? But the guy that is playing not to lose, that doesn't want to get knocked out, the tenseness will limit his ability to perform at the highest level. Because if you imagine throwing a punch from a place of tenseness, like you can see the punch coming. The punch won't be as fast because there's tension in the body. The when it comes to boxing, there is this beautiful balance between relaxation and tension. So you only tense at the end of the punch. You don't tense from the start and try to throw a punch. Like, it doesn't work that way. So this is where you see the difference in performance between the athlete that is playing to win and playing not to lose. So how does this show up in your business, for example? How does this show up in your relationships? Because if you're playing not to lose, you start to interpret reality differently. Let's imagine your relationships. When you are in a relationship, let's imagine that you came out of a toxic relationship. We've all had these relationships before. And you go into a new relationship and you see so much potential. Right now, maybe you're trying not to lose. Like, you don't want this reality from happening again. So now all the behavior that you're seeing in her, you try to analyze this as is this similar as my past relationship? You don't see the behavior as it is anymore. You start to analyze it from a place of fear. Oh, what if she's just as toxic as my last relationship? So you're not fully present and open to the possibilities of the relationship, of this dynamic. So also, you interpreting reality is completely different if you're playing not to lose. And if you're playing to win, and this is a different way of thinking about it. Let's imagine we would erase your memory completely. You have no data you can gather from your past to bring into the goal that you're trying to achieve, into this present moment. How would that feel? How would that feel if you knew you couldn't fail? If failure did not exist? If you didn't even know the worst case scenarios? If you don't know these, then you're like, oh, what is going to happen? There's this curiosity, there's this excitement, almost this childlike curiosity as well. As in, what is possible here? What can we create together? And this is where you are a blank slate. And you want to, and this is just a very powerful place to get to become a blank slate. Because right now you're already writing your story in any kind of way that is completely off, that's completely false. So just imagine how powerful you would become if you would be playing to win. What would that feel like? So this is a way that I, let's say, listen to my clients as well when they're speaking. Like, what is the energy that they're creating from? What is the place that they are creating from? And if I notice that people are playing the game not to lose, I already know that they are limiting their ability to create. Because everybody that I talk to, they want to live into their highest potential. And probably for you the same if you're watching this video. How can I fulfill or live in alignment with my highest potential? How can I really explore the question of what am I capable of in this world? If you want to play that game, you don't want to be playing it small. And if you're playing not to lose, if you try to prevent pain from happening, hurt, failure, judgment, rejection, whatever the case is, you are playing it small. If you are playing to win, you are living into different possibilities. And this is also where when you are playing to win, you are playing the big game. You are playing the big game. And this means that even all the things that you're afraid of happening, they become insignificant in the process. They don't matter as much anymore. They don't hold that much importance to you. Because you have a way bigger vision in mind. Your purpose is way bigger than trying to prevent failure from happening or judgments from other people. Like, it's almost part of the process. And this is where the self-fulfilling prophecy part is so funny, especially with the car. And especially if you're riding a bicycle, this starts happening. So when you want to turn to the right and you start to look at the tree to the left, this is where if you constantly look at, I don't want to crash, I don't want to crash, I don't want to crash, of course you start to move into that direction. You start to move into the direction that you're looking into, always. But you want to go to the right. That's the playing to win part. But if you're constantly focusing on not to crash, what are you going to be doing? What would you attract in your life? If you're constantly looking at, I don't want to be judged by other people, I can guarantee you're going to be judged. I don't want to fail again. I don't want to lose my money. You're going to lose your money. Like, there are high chances if you're constantly focusing on that tree. And that's why playing the game to win is so important. So yeah, this is the possibility that I wanted to give you in this video. And yeah, you can feel into the difference between these two, and between creating from a place of fear and creating from a place of possibility, of what is possible when you look into the future.